This lesson is all about one-step equations that involve fractions. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through these examples, and in the highlighted box above you see when you multiply a fraction by its reciprocal, the result is always 1. So that's what we're going to use in order to isolate the variable. So let's go ahead and get started. This first example, we need to isolate the variable by getting x by itself. So if you see that we have 5, 6 in front of x, that means multiplying. And when we multiply a fraction by its reciprocal, remember reciprocal is when you flip the fraction, the result is always 1. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to multiply 5, 6 by 6 over 5. So I'm going to have 6 over 5 times 5 over 6 times x. Whatever I do to the left side, I have to do to the right side, so I multiplied by 6 over 5. And then we multiply that by 20, because that's what's given in the problem. Alright, so again, we're going back to this idea that when you multiply a fraction by its reciprocal, the result is always 1. So we have 1x, which isolated the x, and that's why we did that. Now on the other side, we're going to utilize what we learned in one of the topics that we've already learned, and that is we can cross cancel. So if you look at 20 over 1 and we cross cancel, 20 over 5 is equal to 4. So we really have 6 times 4 on that side, and 6 times 4 is 24. So that means that x is equal to 24, and that's my answer. Now we always check our answers, and we can use our calculators to do that. So I would type in 5 over 6, or 5 divided by 6, times 24, and I want to make sure that that equals 20, which it does. Let's move on to example 2. We're going to draw our line. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So this time my fraction with the variable is over here on the right hand side. So I have to multiply by the reciprocal of this one, and the reciprocal is still negative, it's just flipped the fraction. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 4 over 1. Negative 4 over 1 times negative 1 over 4 times x. What I did to the right hand side, I also have to do to the left hand side, so I'm going to multiply the left hand side by negative 4 over 1. And then I'm going to utilize my cross simplification idea. So 4 over 8 becomes 1 over 2. And now I'm ready to multiply. Negative 1 times negative 3 is a positive 3. 1 times 2 is 2. So I get a positive 3 over 2 on the left hand side. And on the right hand side, a fraction multiplied by its reciprocal is always 1. So I get 1x. And 1x is the same as x, so that means that we have solved this. X is 3 over 2. And that's my answer. We are always going to check our work. So in the calculator, you would do negative 1/4 times 3/2, and make sure that that equals negative 3/8. So what I'm looking at is this original problem right here. Okay, you type that into your calculator and it should equal negative 3/8. So we're going to move on. Alright, so on this problem we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of 2 over 3. So that's 3 over 2. And what we do to one side, we have to do to the other, so I'm going to multiply the other side by 3 over 2 as well. And again, when we multiply a fraction times its reciprocal, the result is always 1. So we get 1x. I'm going to utilize my cross cancellation skills over on this side. 18 over 2 is 9 over 1. So now we just have to multiply 3 times 9. So the answer is 27. 1x is the same as x. So x equals 27. And in the check part, you're going to multiply in your calculator 2/3 times 27, and the result should give you 18 on your calculator. Number 4 is a little bit different. We're going to actually utilize our cross cancellation skills to begin with. So 8 is the same as 8 over 1, and when I cross cancel the 8 and the 4, I get 2 over 1. So this problem is actually 2x is equal to 28. So this is a much simpler problem than it looks at the beginning. This time I'm not going to multiply by the reciprocal. This is just dividing both sides by 2. So x equals 14 is the answer for that one. And in the calculator for my check, I'm going to type in 8 times 1/4 times 14 and make sure that the answer on the calculator is 28. Alright, let's move on to the last two. Number 5 sometimes confuses students because they see this x is in the numerator. Just realize that the x can be in the numerator or off to the side, but it can never be in the denominator. So what I'm saying is that this is the same as 3/4 x equals 12. That's the same exact problem. So we're going to draw our line. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal of the fraction to get it equal to 1. So we're going to multiply by 4/3. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. And then again, any fraction times its reciprocal has an answer of 1. So we get 1x on the left. I'm going to use my cross cancellation or cross simplification skills. 12 over 3 becomes 4 over 1. So now I just have to do 4 times 4. And that is 16. So my answer is x equals 16. I'm going to check my answer by doing 3 times 16 divided by 4 and make sure the answer is 12. So again, I'm just plugging in my answer 16 for that, x. Alright, the last example, we're going to multiply both sides, let me change the color there, by the reciprocal of 1/16. So I'm going to multiply by 16 over 1. So we multiply both sides by 16 over 1. Any fraction multiplied by its reciprocal has a result of 1. So we get 1x. I'm going to cross simplify. 16 over 8 becomes 2 over 1. So now I have 2 times 3, which is 6, over 1, which is just 6. So my answer is x equals 6. And on my calculator, I'm going to check to make sure that 1/16 times 6 is equal to 3/8. Now you can either use the fraction buttons to get that, or you can do 1 divided by 16 times 6, and then 3 divided by 8 and make sure that's the same decimal. And that is the end of this lesson.